I want to talk about The Mandalorian. I watched the first episode last night, and you know what? It's Star Wars. Now, I'm not going to give up any spoilers because I don't do that. I will say this: it sure feels nice to see a show that feels like Star Wars. And the Star Wars Rebels did that as well. Like, Disney takes a lot of flack for Last Jedi and um, for The Force Awakens. Force Awakens was kind of a recall, kind of a soft reboot of the franchise. Last Jedi was, we're going to try something different, and then fans went, we don't like that, and so now they're going to try something that's not different with Rise of Skywalker. The Mandalorian, though, what a show. IG-88, who was a robot, an assassin, a bounty hunter droid. The only reason I know who IG-88 is because I had all of these Star Wars cards. So they sold them. They started it out in 19. I want to say it was 96 or 97, where they were all just here's Star Wars, and it was the New Hope, and then they had a Tatooine set, and then they had a Death Star set, and then they went with Hoth, and then it went through, and eventually you get to IG-88, who is awesome. And we saw that last night that he is an amazing droid. He is fantastic and really fun character. Um, and the Mandalorian, who we all assumed was Boba Fett when we saw the promos, we're like, oh, a Boba Fett series. We don't know that that's who it is. The reason I'm making this review is simple. Right now, I'm reading some reviews that say, a really dusty show, kind of boring. It's not very funny either. You watched the original Star Wars and heard some of the lame jokes in the first three Star Wars movies? There's some really lame jokes in the original trilogy. And then look at the other two trilogies and tell me there aren't lame jokes in there as well. And then the whole, oh, it's dusty and boring. What? My favorite one was he can't be wearing the mask all the time. That's terrible. Yeah, the number one complaint I hear about Boba Fett is he needs to not wear the mask. If you're not a fan of Star Wars, just admit it. Just say, I'm not a fan of Star Wars at the start of your review, and then we can go, all right, got it. Because when I read these reviews, which are really nitpicking, and it's a first episode, and it's establishing what's going on. That this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi. This is a galaxy in chaos. That you've got this Mandalorian that has this really cool setup when it comes to how he brings guys in. I could bring you in warm or I could bring you in cold. And it is a great line. And yet here I am reading these reviews that go, oh, dumb line. No, it's not. And then they say, oh, it's like a space western. Yeah, exactly. And it's fantastic. And it's like Boba Fett, but different. And you can see some flashbacks. So there's a character there. They're just not revealing it yet. It's sort of like when he's going on this big bounty. You're like, who's the big bounty going to be? And you don't know. Sometimes it's better off not to know everything. I think we're so used to everything being plotted out for us ahead of time, whether it's a trailer that tells you the whole movie, which I don't understand those trailers at all. What's the point? There have been trailers that my wife and I'll sit in the theater and we're waiting for the main feature and the trailer comes on, and at the end of the trailer go, whew, now I don't have to see that. They just told me everything's going to happen in the movie, because that's what you do now. And you look back to trailers back in the 80s, early 90s, they didn't do that. They didn't tell you everything, and now it's just everything. The only time they don't tell you everything is when it's a monster and they don't want to reveal the face of the monster until you're watching the movie. It's really lame. So having the Mandalorian that's being shrouded in secrecy is a good thing. The fact that you don't see his face, also a good thing. The fact that we can speculate about who he might be, good thing. And it shows that Disney's had its missteps, but they understand this is billions they've invested in this franchise. This is a franchise that can make them many billions as well if they handle it right. And to me, last night's show was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's worth it. As soon as I saw Disney Plus was available in Canada, I was like, and done, because I knew The Mandalorian was going to be on there, and I knew all of the movies for the kids were going to be on there too. Every Disney movie you can imagine. Most of the DVDs we have for some of those are pretty scratched up and don't really work very well anymore. So now we don't really have to worry about that so much. Eventually you replace them, but Disney's funny that way. Some movies they won't release on DVD. Some of them they release for like a couple of months and then it goes away and it may not come back. So uh, there are certain things I see on there that I think look kind of cringy, but there is enough on there that I can say, yeah, I'm going to watch that. The funny thing is, when I signed up and I got it, I thought, okay, so ultra high def for all the Star Wars movies. Fine. So I put on Phantom Menace. I know. I know. I'll say this for the Phantom Menace, and I haven't watched it in a very long time. I haven't tried to watch it in a long time. I did it while I was doing the treadmill yesterday. If the movie ended with the pod race, you'd have a much better movie. If that was your climax of the movie, that it leads up to that pod race and them getting the parts they need, and then that's their victory, great. You'd have everything you needed, and you could change around plot points to make that the climax. So people are like, well, then you're taking all that out. Nah, you can change things around and make that your climax. That scene, that pod race, is the best part of the movie. It should be the end of it, but everything else gets tacked on, and there are things that make me yell at the screen. There are still things that make me yell at the screen. For instance, they have the blockade, which only seems to be a blockade right here, and there's all space everywhere else, and they go right at the blockade, and I'm thinking, why did you fly the other way? There's nothing on the other side of the planet. There's nothing on that side of the planet. There's nothing on that side of the planet. It's like there's a tank coming at me. I guess I have to run straight at the tank. Like, why? What are you doing? That's natural selection, right? That's a Darwin Award. That's what that is waiting to happen. But I yell at the screen for that, and then just the fact that the droids are such useless. The robot army is just so abysmally useless that there's no tension in those scenes at all. So I will try to watch the rest, but it really should have ended with the pod racing scene. Going back to the Mandalorian, there's no really big action scene. He is definitely a Clint Eastwood type character. The way that they shoot him, the way that everything works. Do I think it's Boba Fett? Maybe. Now, for people who say, well, Boba Fett died in Jedi, in the expanded universe that Disney did away with, he didn't. He shot his way out of the Sarlacc. He killed the Sarlacc from within and crawled his way out. And when he came out, he was none too happy with Han Solo. So he tracked Solo down in the Dark Empire comics that I had. And so that was kind of fun to see that Boba Fett wasn't dead. Who knows what they've done with this expanded universe? Maybe it is Boba Fett. Maybe it's a relation somewhere. Or he's just a Mandalorian and this is just how they are. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a very interesting series. There's 7 more parts to come. If you watched the first part, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.